Things on and off here with DJ Chark of the Chargers.
Yeah, so my quick review on him, Shark, he's shown spurts, but he's kind of a traveling wide receiver. I think his best year was like his sophomore season. He had over 1,000 yards, 100 or on 118 targets and 73 receptions. He's really the wide receiver three with the Chargers. To me, um, he's a guy that if you don't have any other options, you can draft, but he's certainly really only going to be a plug and play in PPR fantasy if there's injuries involved. I don't really expect a lot of the receivers on the Chargers team to light it up this year, and I believe McConkey and Palmer are probably going to get the majority of the targets there. So, Wiggs, what do you want? Anything to add?
Yeah, he's kind of in the mix there, being that I would say 4 or 5 receiver on the team. I think Brendan Rice, Palmer, and McConkey will be like the core three, but Justin Herbert's going to spread the ball around like he typically does, and he's going to find at least Chark and his other receiver there in Johnston a decent amount here, so not too bad at depth, and you can really kind of pick up either of those guys later on.
I do find it interesting that they have him uh, uh, higher on the depth chart than Quentin Johnston. Uh, I still think Johnston's got a lot of talent, um, but I know he's been struggling, so we'll have to wait and see.
But on from that, I believe that is Marvin Mims.
Yeah, so Mims, I like Marvin Mims. He's a wide receiver three listed on their depth chart, uh, but um, he's also I believe they had him as a punt returner last year as well. Uh, he didn't light up the world last year, but he also wasn't given a lot of opportunities. He only had 33 targets, but he took advantage of those targets. He averaged over 11 yards of reception. Um, I think that he's a deep. I would consider him a deep sleeper. From my end of things, he's one of those guys that, depending on how Sutton and the other receivers are, and if they stay healthy, because Denver's had issues
Yeah.
with that, he could jump up the chart. But I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think Sean Payton has said and stuff that I've seen that he feels that Mims is gonna have a breakout year.
I could totally see him having a breakout year. Any of the receivers really on this Denver offense, I find hard to rank just because I'm not sold on any of their quarterbacks, which may not be like the greatest of arguments there, but I don't know. It's hard to judge with, Sutton probably being the clear cut one guy if he can stay healthy, but then after that, you have a mix of Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims, Tim Patrick if he can stay healthy. Like, kind of all over the place, and that's the only reason I ranked him so low is just because I don't know what he's really going to do in this offense this
He's
year.
got a lot of talent though, so keep an eye open from him. He's definitely a draftable type guy.
Yeah, and you can draft him late and just have him on your bench. Next thing you know, he can pop off. He could be like Puka Nakua of last year and go unnoticed, and then kind of just pop off a little bit. Van Jefferson of the Steelers.
Yeah, so Jefferson, he was with LA, then Atlanta. He had one really good year with LA, again his sophomore season, where he had 50 receptions and 800 yards. I'll be honest with you, I think Jefferson isn't going to light the world on fire. Again, he's definitely someone that could jump up the chart if somebody gets injured. On the Chargers team. There's been a lot of talk about Roman Wilson, who's their rookie. They also, they obviously got Pickens, but Calvin Austin to me is actually someone that could, um, be someone to watch for outside of Jefferson. And then they got Quez Watkins too, who is another one that is an interesting type one. So I think Jefferson has talent, but I had him ranked below Mims because I'm really higher on Mims than I am Jefferson. So it'll just be interesting to see. But he's nothing more than a late round pick. Um, in case you need, for injury replacement, if you get to that point. But he's definitely a very late round pick.
Yeah, for me, he'd be someone like I'd pick up with like my last pick, maybe in the draft, or even someone I'd pick up after the draft's concluded. If you have like someone who's going into the season hurt, you can just pick them up and throw them on your bench once you put your player on IR. That's the only way I'd pick them up, at least. And now with talks of Brandon Ayuk going over to the Steelers, you never know where he'll be really on that depth chart.
Yeah, and they talked about that. They've kind of debunked that a little bit now too. I just noticed just before we jumped on Wiggs, so I don't know if that'll happen or not. But there has been chatter about that, so it'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
what goes on. But yeah, I think with the other guys on this roster though, that Jefferson's going to get lost in the numbers.
Yeah, he's going to be a wide receiver 3 or 4, and it's not going to be like a crazy impact unless someone gets hurt, like you said.
Right.
Moving on, Noah Brown of the Texans.
Noah Brown, he didn't do crazy bad last year. I mean, he had 55 targets on 33 receptions for a little over 560 yards. Uh, I'll be honest with you. He's again another guy just similar to Jefferson. I think he's going to get lost in the numbers. There's a lot of teams waiting to see who the Texans are going to cut at wide receiver. To be quite honest with you, because they got Nico Collins, Stefon Diggs, Tank Dell, John Mechie, Robert Woods. They got Noah Brown. They've just got such.
And they signed Ben Skrovrelneck
Yeah.
in the offseason from the Rams, so I could totally see him cutting like 2 guys.
So, it wouldn't surprise me if Noah Brown, chances are he's going to make the cut for Texans, but if he doesn't, he's going to end up on another team. Wouldn't surprise me if somebody maybe traded for him if they needed some wide receiver help. I definitely think he has a lot of talent. He was definitely a weapon that they used, and he did a great job filling in when they had injuries last year, right?
Yeah, he had 2 games of like 200 yards or something like that.
So I think that this guy is definitely someone, that you want to keep an eye on. Prior to Houston, he was with Dallas. He really didn't do much with Dallas. He had 1 year where, the year before in 2022, where he had, 43 receptions on 555 yards with Dallas. But I could definitely see him, latching on to another team if he doesn't, or getting traded just because of the depth here. So I would, I would just keep my eye on where he ends up and see if he does stay on the Texans, he's definitely just going to be an injury replacement, late round draft pick. If he does get traded or let go and somebody else picks him up, keep an eye on, what team he goes to, because he could definitely have an impact on a new team.
Yeah, and I think the reason we had him ranked even in the top 80 here is because CJ Stroud's probably going to have another 4.5K season throwing the ball. So,
well, I think he showed last year that he's definitely got the talent.
Yeah,
I think he just hasn't had the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, if Noah Brown gets traded to really any team, like he should be within that top 80 range for sure.
I mean, because if you think about it, he was with Dallas, and Dallas, he was with Dallas, since 2017 until 2022, but he was kind of lost in the shuffle in Dallas.
Yeah, and they never utilize him. Yeah, they utilize him 1 year and then trade him away or release him. So wouldn't surprise me though if we saw him on another team and he jumped up even further than what we have him on our list.
Yeah.
All right, we got Quentin Johnston of the Chargers. I think we have 5 Chargers in their top 80.
Yeah, and this could change. Obviously, this is going to be a fluid list. It's early on here. The Chargers had high hopes for Johnston last year. He didn't really pan out the way they wanted. He struggled. I heard he's kind of struggling this year. The guy they drafted this year, McConley, is actually jumped up to the wide receiver one on their depth chart. I think Joshua Palmer is definitely going to be over Johnston. And they actually got Chark ranked above Johnston right now too. I heard he's been struggling again. I still think he has talent. I think he needs to find the right place. I don't think the Chargers is the right place.
No.
They say that they're gonna, keep him there. I don't know. Again, if they do keep him there, he is nothing more than. I personally, I think Mims is a better option than him if you're going to draft late round. That's just my opinion, just because we just don't know where he's going to, shake out and stuff. But I'd keep my eyes open because there's going to be a lot of movement with these teams, and depending on how many receivers they keep. If he stays with the Chargers, I think the Chargers are going to be running the ball more than passing. Wouldn't you agree, Wiggs? Yeah. So I don't know that he's going to really have much fantasy value unless somebody gets hurt and he has to jump in, or he gets let go or traded to a different team that actually is a better fit for him.
Yeah, see, when I was looking at the depth chart and doing like my rankings, I noticed like I did have 5 of these Chargers receivers on my list, but like part of me has a feeling that like Johnston possibly could get traded because they draft Rice and McConkey, so I don't think they get traded. You just signed Chark in the offseason. Now, unless he completely is just terrible in their camp and everything, maybe he gets cut or something. I don't know. But part of me is just kind of hoping that Johnston gets traded and then utilized in whatever offense he's on. Even if it's as something simple as going to like Cincinnati or something and being the wide receiver 3 there, or some other team that needs like a wide receiver 3, because I could totally see him being like in that 76, 80 range. Not any higher really, but really once you get down here, it's kind of close between everyone, and everyone kind of fluctuates just a little bit.
I had him a little bit higher just because I do think he has some upside with his size, his youth, and I do believe that if he does find the right team, he could turn it around. So,
and part of me has like a feeling that like Chark, Johnston, and Brendan Rice all could have like similar years on that Chargers offense, even if none of them like move to different teams, But
yeah, because he is 6'4", 215 pounds. He's a big receiver, so.
And I mean, he doesn't even need a ton of receptions. It could just be like a few touchdowns here and there that boosts him up to the 76 spot,